Hey everybody, I just wanted to show you a couple of cool things that I've bought in preparation for building my arcade machine. We're going to go through a couple of the electronics, what they do and how they work. I'd just like to massive shout out to both DIY Arcade, that's DIYarcade.com.au, who sent me all of the electronics, and Arcadeworks, who are currently working on the wooden side of the cabinet, and also Cash Converters for helping me pick up a few little things. We're going to go through it really quickly and just sort of what you need at a very basic level if you're going to build an arcade machine. So probably the most obvious thing is a monitor. This is just a 24-inch flat screen television that I picked up from Cash Converters. It will probably do the job fine. It's got all the inputs that I need. It's also got remote control as a bonus, so if I want to add more than one sort of machine into the cabinet eventually, I can do that this way. You know, this cost me about $90, not a huge amount for what it is. It works, it'll be fine. So this is the arcade's power supply. Essentially this will be driving at least the board and probably the fan and maybe a few other things, but at least the board. And you'll notice that there's no cabling on this yet, which is a fun new adventure for me. The power cables go along the FG and AC lines there. What you need to do is actually strip out something. So I'm going to be using a power board, specifically this power board, and using the cable here, the ends of the cable on the power supply, and mounting the rest of the cabinet with this power board so that I can plug everything else in. What else have we got in here? Coin acceptor. Badass. This is like, obviously it's not gonna, like, I don't expect to make money from this thing, but it's a cool little addition to the cabinet. Rather than just hitting, I mean, there'll be credit buttons as well maybe, but I like the idea of actually having to put money in, just like a good old-fashioned arcade from back in the day. Audio amplifier. Essentially what I'm going to be doing with this is, rather than going through the board for audio, I want to have a bit more control over it. So I'm going to be using the amplifier and doing that to basically control all the audio out. Plenty of stuff here, not a huge deal. The speakers, same deal. Essentially they're going to be connected to the amplifier and we'll be providing the audio out. Joysticks. That's what they look like without the ball. You know, very satisfying little click there. This is cool. I didn't know this when I was purchasing, but they come with this little thing at the bottom here, and what you can do is take these screws out and move this backwards and forwards, and what it does is it limits the direction of the joystick. So if you've got something like I don't know, Defender or something like that, I can't think of any arcade games at the top of my head, where you can only move the joystick up and down or left and right, for example, you can move it to this setting here and that'll lock it in the backwards and forwards mode so that you don't have the range of motion that you do. This is in the 8 position switch, by the way, so this is what it'll be set at most of the time, I expect. Yeah, so we got 2 of those, which is cool. Buttons. These will go on the end of micro switches and go into the cabinet, and I mean, it's buttons. You know what buttons do in arcade cabinets. Speaker grills, they'll go over the top of the speakers, and, you know, all pretty self-explanatory. The micro switches. So these are the things that actually talk to the hardware and respond to the button presses. We got a lot in here, but we've also got a lot of buttons on the cabinet, so that's fine. One of the reasons that I'm doing this is doing it this way is because you could do this with Raspberry Pi and things like that, but I wanted to, I've built a computer before and that was a very similar idea. So cab lock, this is cool. So essentially, you know how I said I wasn't gonna monetize? That was sort of a lie. I want to be able to lock up the cabinet and take, you know, things out of it. What else have we got? More buttons. These are going to be the start and credit buttons, which are pretty cool. Like, it's nice that they've got the 1 and 2 player logos stuck on there. The other one's just black. I mean, they're not supposed to stand out in any particular way. Red button. So the cabinet is going to be very Superman themed. Surprise. So the entire cabinet's base color is going to be blue, and we're going to use the red and yellow buttons and some perspex and that sort of stuff to give it a bit of depth and to make it look a little better. Fan. So arcade machines are practically computers these days. So essentially I'm going to have a hole drilled into the cabinet to get the fan plugged in there, just as a cooling feature. I mean, it's probably not essential, let's be honest. The computer that I'm using is very small and probably not going to do any damage. What else have we got here? This beast is the jammer harness. Essentially, what this is the central nervous system of your arcade machine. Each one of these little loop electronic things is going to hit one of the micro switches that we have in there, and it's going to go and basically read every time a micro switch goes through, change the voltage, and that's how your arcade machine gets thing. And this is the brain. Let me just turn it around. It's not a PlayStation 4. It is a Pandora's Box 4S HD. There's somewhere in the vicinity of 480 games on there, which is probably good enough. I mean, I was going to go with like a 2100 game board, but that's essentially, at that point, that is essentially a computer. And I've built that before, and I you know, this is sort of like a learning experience for me as well. If you're interested, there's the manual. You can pick these up. The same sort of deal. They got practically everything you'd ever want on there. Cool. So thanks very much. You'll be getting more updates on this channel as I keep going, building this thing. I still don't know where I'm going to put it in my house, but that's fine. I've committed to the idea now. That's a problem we're going to deal with later. Yeah, look, please keep tuned. I'll give you more updates as they happen, and we'll get you stick with me as we build through one of my crazy ideas.